big money corporations that make a lot of money off of harming people on the planet, but there's big money and dirty money in all sides of politics. That has to go. And one of the main ways that we make sure that goes is by voting, is by making sure that we demand that the VRA is reinstated in its full capacity, making sure that our states are not gerrymandered, making sure that our votes actually matter. So that's why they're trying to make us not vote. So it's like, if you want to be a badass, if you want to be a revolutionary, if you want to actually create change, the first fucking thing you got to do is vote. Sorry, I'm swearing.
That's
We're
okay.
live. Can't take it back. Yeah, but you know, you really have to show up and do it. And when you start looking at how many states and you know, even citywide elections have had decisions made literally by a handful of votes, like every single vote matters. And if you're one of those people who's sitting at home being like, I don't like either candidate, like, your privilege is showing. Check yourself. That's not an option. You can't say like, well, I'm not that obsessed with anybody. Like, nobody's as cool as Barack Obama. Like, yeah, I get it. Very few people are that cool. But you don't need to want to have a beer with your president or with your state rep or with like your secretary of state who controls your elections. But you sure as shit better make sure that the person controlling your elections is a good person. Otherwise, you wind up with the situation like we have in Georgia right now, where Brian Kemp is literally refereeing his own race and disenfranchising voters because he's so afraid of Stacey Abrams. Like, this is not how American democracy is supposed to work. And it's up to us to change it. Otherwise, we don't have a government for the people, by the people. We have like a bunch of old rich white guys who say things like Viagra should be covered by health insurance, but birth control shouldn't, because birth control is not healthcare. I'm like, hello, who are you? How did you get here?
Question. So, okay, so we're there. We're at the polls. We get ourselves there. We're making sure that we're registered. We're like saying that they don't have our name, that we'll do a provisionary ballot. We're doing all those things. We close the curtain, we get in the booth, and we're like, is this English? What are good resources for us to go to learn about our candidates and know? Yeah, like, where can we find out about these things in like layman's terms?
Yeah, so Google Vote Save America.
Okay.
It's also in my Instagram feed. There's a static post about it, and you can visit the link. It's the easiest, most kind of digestible breakdown for ballot measures.
Cool.
And while, again, you clearly know my politics if you follow me, it is a nonpartisan site. It does like really truly break down how everybody's voting, what the measures are, what it means. And that goes for like city measures, that goes for statewide measures. It's the place where you can go to get everything. Cool. If you are a California voter who votes like I do, I also have a voting guide cheat sheet up on my Instagram story. There's an actual highlight that says vote, so like, you're welcome. But Vote Save America is the place to go to get all your info. There's also another website you can Google called Ballotpedia that walks you through a lot of things. But I'm getting really amazing feedback from everyone I've spoken to about Vote Save America, and it's really helping people break it down. And what I recommend is spend a little bit of time on that, and then actually, like, in your phone or in your journal, whatever, make a little list so that you have your yeses, nos, the things and people you're voting on like selected, and you're good to go. That's my thing. And obviously, when we're talking about, you know, saving things like healthcare and the environment and like maybe protecting clean water, I'm going to say just like vote blue all the way down the ticket. Because we're really trying to restore a system of checks and balances to a government that's based on checks and balances, which doesn't have any currently, so that's why it's not working. But I digress.
Okay, so what are your top like 3 main things that we really like are looking for right now in this election?
Yeah, I mean, for me, oh my God, making sure we don't lose the right to vote is huge. When you see, again, to reference Georgia, a guy like Brian Kemp literally operating the election he's running in, which is such a criminal conflict of interest, it's insane, and disenfranchising, the last time we looked at the tally, 360,000 voters in Georgia, not okay. When you look at Florida, where one of the measures on the ballot is whether or not to reinstate voting rights to former felons, and by the way, like, if you've gone to jail and you've paid your debt to society and you still pay your taxes when you're out of prison and you like have a job and you're being this badass member of your society now, you should be able to vote.
Yeah.
Like, taxation without representation is actually illegal. So if we're going to make former felons pay taxes and pay their debt to society, you best believe they're meant to be able to vote as well. And
Yeah.
any person who's made a mistake, learned from it, and is a better person should be able to be that better person and have a voice. So if that measure passes in Florida, 1.4 million people who should be able to vote will be able to. Things like that are paramount importance to me in this election, because we're talking about actually being represented by our representatives. Healthcare, obviously, is a big one. I reposted in my stories the video that I made with Attention last year, talking about the fact that 71% of our elected officials are men who don't think birth control is healthcare, and every woman on the planet, 95% of us, by the way, who will use birth control at some point in our lives, know that birth control is healthcare. There's plenty of people who use it simply because they don't want to get pregnant, which, by the way, is responsible. Thank you, like the party who claims they're protecting families. I'm like, then let us plan them. Hello?
Yeah.
But there's a responsibility side to it, and there's also the reality that women manage everything from like catastrophic cramps to endometriosis to other health disorders with birth control therapy. So yes, it's healthcare, and we best keep it that way. Gosh, and honestly, yeah, corruption. Like, I'm a big fan of anti-corruption. I think we all should, right? Like, nobody wants
corruption.
Yeah, I'm voting for anti-corruption.
Yes.
I really am trying to make sure that our government doesn't run away from itself and doesn't just become the kind of place where if you're super privileged and super rich and super white, you can just get more of that privilege and money, and everyone else is made to suffer. Like, the fact that we have a president in office right now who's blatantly violating the emoluments clause, that alone is case for him being removed, let alone, colluding with a hostile foreign power and all the other things that are happening. So for me, voting, healthcare, anti-corruption, those are my top three.
And what states have the most at stake right now?
Honestly,
Besides all of them.
all of them. That's what's scary. I mean, there are certain states we're really hearing about tight races in, but one that I'm not hearing enough about, Kyrsten Sinema is running for Senate in Arizona. She's a congresswoman. She is the most badass lady. She manages to like cross every partisan divide there is. She does the most baller job in government. She brings everybody to the table, like people who I would not be able to sit with. Kyrsten Sinema literally is like, let's have a coffee and talk. She is the kind of mature, brilliant woman that I hope to be when I grow up. And people aren't talking about how tight her race is, and also how ugly the other side is being to her. And this is a woman who grew up below the poverty line, literally was homeless with her family for years, lived in an abandoned gas station, and got support of social services in her state of Arizona, got support from teachers and from her school, and managed to get out of one of the worst situations a kid can be in and become a congresswoman. This is the kind of woman you want in the Senate, who can say, I understand what these elected officials are fighting for and need, and I also understand what the most vulnerable people in our state's population need as well. And she manages to take care of everyone. So like, if you are in Arizona, please get out and door knock. Please make sure that that woman gets elected. She is everything.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think the best thing we can do.
Same goes with Jackie Rosen in Nevada, by the way. Nevada, show up, show up, show up, show up.
Got it. Beautiful. I think that the biggest thing is like, so many of us have been feeling so angry and scared, and so many emotions that can leave us kind of paralyzed in terms of what to do. And tomorrow is what we can do.
Yeah.
That's
And here's the thing. When you look at why people historically don't vote, you have to look at the people who are the most disenfranchised. And when we talk about issues of voting rights, we talk about issues of healthcare, we talk about anti-corruption, those are justice issues, and they have within them hyper complex racial justice issues as well. And we need to not forget that. Just as so many of our brothers and sisters of color have been talking about how we need to organize better for communities within our cities and states, there's also a lot of good emphasis being placed upon the fact that as we follow those examples, not only do we need to vote, we need to vote so that we have organizing rights, and then we need to go between this midterm and the next election and organize and work on dismantling systems that disenfranchise people and that disenfranchise people of color at extra levels to the rest of us. And I understand that when we start talking about like systems and oppression and organization and how to change government structure, it's like, whoa, it feels like a lot. But you guys, it's literally the least we can do. Like if we can show up and hang on Instagram for a live for, how long have we been on here? 15 minutes. The average wait time to vote is 11 minutes. Like you could have been in and out.
Never waited to vote.
Exactly. By the
Ever.
way, yeah. I walked in and out. It took me like 6 minutes to vote when
Yeah.
I voted early a couple weeks ago. So it's like, if we can do this, we better be doing that. That's actually the least we can do. This is like elective free time hang, talk, get informed, get motivated. And we all need that. That's self-care. Cool, I'm on it. But if all you're doing is self-care followed by no organizing action, or you're marching but you're not voting, like fuck your protest photo at the march. It doesn't mean anything if you don't vote.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't just do it for the gram.
Don't just do it for the gram. Do it for our democracy. Damn it.
Yeah.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Lastly, who are some
Democracy over the gram. Make the bumper sticker. Someone,
Speaking
please.
of the gram, though, who are a few people that you feel are like great platforms for information accounts that we should be following?
Yes. Okay. Definitely follow I Am a Voter.
Okay.
There is an incredible amount of resources that you can find through that account and that site. Definitely pay attention to Vote Save America. And oh my gosh, I'm trying to think state to state. I mean, yeah, follow people like Kirsten Sinema, Jackie Rosen, Beto O'Rourke, Andrew Gillum, Stacey Abrams. Like these are the people who are leading us and showing us what America can be. So I'm really just hoping that tomorrow, and also guys, like, I don't care what you're reading on the internet. I don't care if you're like, oh, wow, look at these numbers about early voting turnout. None of it means shit. Tomorrow is the day. If you haven't voted, you have to get to the polls tomorrow. You have to take people with you. There is no excuse and there's no safety net. Like just because lots of people are turning out to vote early literally doesn't mean that a single race is in the bag. So show up, stand up, speak up with your vote, get in line, do the things.
I think I'm most worried about voter suppression.
Yeah, me too. It's very scary. I mean, a lot of people are being turned away. There's actually voters in Georgia who've been reporting that the voting machines are changing what they're plugging in. This is another reason we need to go back to paper ballots. And you also need to make sure that you know your rights. Like in Georgia, where they were trying to say that if voter signatures didn't matter or didn't match, you couldn't vote. That's illegal. That was overturned. Make sure you know that. If you show up to vote and they say that they don't have you registered, you are legally allowed to request a provisional ballot. Do not turn away until you're allowed to fill one out.
Like sometimes people working there, like they're tired, they've been there all day, they're unpaid, they're generally like older. Like my mom's a senior citizen, she volunteers. Like I wouldn't trust her to know what direction is where. So we really need to like be able to stand our ground.
Do not leave for any reason. There's actually in my voting story and on I Am a Voter, and so many people have been posting it. George Takei, everybody. There's an 866 number that you can call if you are met with any kind of voter suppression or intimidation at the polls. I'll go ahead and post that again today also. You need to make sure that no matter what they say, you do not leave.
Cool.
Get your vote counted. It's your constitutional right.
Yeah.
We love you, Soph. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. Just keep shining that bright light. And I hope that we got some Instagram followers through this. I'm just hoping that, you know, we just could spread the word because you're doing good stuff.
It's cool. You know, I'll take it.
All right. We love you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I don't know how to end this. Bye, guys.
And